This is the 1 Million Lives podcast by Laerdal. Listen to healthcare professionals, healthcare educators, and survivors share their best practices and what they've learned from these experiences. At Laerdal, it's our goal to help save 1 million more lives every year by 2030. One life at a time.
Welcome to this special episode of the 1 Million Live podcast, coming to you from the heart of Barcelona on the last day of the 2023 ERC conference. I am your host, Bjorn Egeland, and boy oh boy, what a conference it has been. The place has been buzzing with people from all corners of Europe and beyond. According to the organizers, the turnout exceeded expectations by nearly 100%. You might be wondering, why all the excitement? Well, it's the first 100% in-person conference after the COVID era. Or maybe it is because of the scientific program or the fantastic location. It's hard to pinpoint, but something's definitely in the air. In today's episode, we are not just giving you a taste of the conference vibes. We got exclusive interviews lined up with some of the key players of the ERC. We are talking to Professor Koen Monsieur, the chair of the ERC, and Dr. Federico Semeraro, the chair-elect. For those of you who are wondering, we will also be shedding some light on the ERC organization itself and what the organization is all about. And wait for it, we got a scoop. We are diving into a groundbreaking collaboration between the ERC and UEFA, the Union of European Football Associations. To spill the beans, we got Dr. Zoran Bacijarevich, the Chief Medical Officer of UEFA. They are launching a brand new project with the potential to be a real lifesaver. But first thing first, let's kick things off with Professor Koen Monsieur. I threw him the question we are all been wondering: what is the deal with the ERC? What is the purpose and what does the ERC hope to achieve?
Well, maybe I can tell you first that the ERC was founded in 1989. So it is now more or less 34 years old, or young, so to speak. The ERC is a scientific not-for-profit organization, and it is an umbrella organization of 35 national resuscitation councils. So that means that in every country in Europe and even abroad, there are national not-for-profit organizations who advocate for CPR in their country. And they all come together in the ERC. Not just national councils, we also have very strong links with European organizations, professional organizations such as the European Society for Emergency Medicine, European Society of Intensive Care Medicine, European Society of Anesthesiology, and then also the European Society of Cardiology and the Red Cross. And apart from that, we are blessed to have the major business organizations, business partners, we call them, so the companies who are also involved in the field of resuscitation, and they are a strong supporter of the ERC as well. The aim of the ERC from the beginning is to save more lives by resuscitation. So we would, in the end, we would want every person to learn CPR and also to perform CPR when needed in order to increase survival. And for doing so, we are quite famous, I think, for our guidelines. So these are guidelines for lay people and professional rescuers. We issue them every 5 years. And we also have educational programs for the same providers of CPR. Apart from that, we are advocating for CPR, which is more on a political level, say, so that, for instance, in every school, there is mandatory CPR teaching.
The Congress just finished was a great success. We are very happy about Barcelona. Some very preliminary number, 1,500 around attendees, 64 country all over the world. The city was beautiful. The social event was amazing. And we are very grateful for the support of everybody, but especially for Catalan Resuscitation Council. New scientific committee, new format with the goal of innovation and making the Congress more attractive. I think we succeed overall. The new scientific committee, a new format with the goal of innovating. We started with open ceremony with Kuhn. The Congress began with an opening ceremony about main topics of the Congress, which included the traditional Peter Safar lecture by Mark Notch and the UEFA ERC campaign. A lot of scientific session. The session covered different topics such as brain injury after cardiac arrest, ECPR, very successful, pediatric resuscitation, post-cardiac arrest, neonatal resuscitation, and more. The session featured like a blend of lecture, workshop, roundtable discussion led by experts in the field. Special focus area, obviously, around the UEFA ERC collaboration, the importance of teamwork in resuscitation. For the first time, and we are very happy about that, we have a joint session with Sesam about high-fidelity simulation and virtual reality. And obviously, the Congress received a very extensive support by Young ERC. We organized a Young ERC first competition where contestants present innovative ideas in resuscitation science and some panel discussion, debate, and collaborative session with several scientific society and the partner.
You mentioned Young ERC. What is that? Can you explain a bit about this concept?
Yeah, Young ERC is a new baby of ERC. So it's a group of young doctors, nurses, paramedics, more diverse than ERC. They are trying to build a new generation of lifesaver. So it's a supporting committee of ERC, and they start to work with us during COVID pandemic, and now we are in very good relation with them. It's the new generation of ERC overall.
So you mentioned there were close to 1,500 or around 1,500 people attending this year's event. What kind of people were they?
One of the hallmarks of the ERC and the ERC conferences is that it's not just one profession. So it's doctors, emergency doctors, but also cardiologists, anesthetists, and everybody interested in CPR, and the same for nurses. So everybody is welcome, as well as paramedics, and even lay people are welcome. So I think this makes the ERC and also our conference unique. It is people, joining together because of a passion they have, a passion for saving lives, and that is quite different from people coming together because it's their profession and one professional group. And it's from young people to older people still interested in the cause of saving lives. So that makes it special. When it comes to countries and where people come from, so Federico said there are, I think, more than 60 countries represented, say, participants from these countries. But there was only one person I could identify from a low-resource country. And that is something that we need to change, because we had a very interesting and well-attended session about low-resource settings. And the guidelines all over the world are produced mainly, not to say exclusively, by experts from high-resource settings. And we have realized recently that they are not necessarily applicable in other areas where there are less resources. And that is the majority of the world. So what I also said in my opening speech, I said, next time at our next conference, I would like to see not one person from a low resource setting, but at least 100 people from a low resource setting. And I'm sure that will incredibly enrich our discussions. So we had a first session about this, but I'm sure that the next conference, this will be a great point of attention.
So you will welcome more lectures and workshops on this matter in the future.
Yes, absolutely, and also we should make it possible for those attending from low resource areas to attend a conference, because attending a conference, an international conference, costs money. So we need to find solutions to support people from low resource areas to come to the conference, and we could think about hybrid sessions. That's probably one thing, but face-to-face meeting is most important. So we have some time to find out how we're going to do this, but I really want this as a goal.
So this was one section which was touched upon during the conference. Are there other lectures or themes which was touched upon during the last 3 days that you like to put forward, which stood out?
Yes, if I may, I remember the Resuscitation 2050 session, which is looking into the future. And it was a session where the panel was composed out of these professional European organizations, immersive medicine, cardiology, intensive care, anesthesiology, and Red Cross. And of course, the first thing that comes to mind is technology. In 2050, there will be lots of technologies helping improve survival and training people. But that's not the most important aspect. In this session, the most important aspect was more focus on survivors, because these are often forgotten. We have a lot of things to resuscitate, a lot of technology, but then there are the survivors, and we need to support them and the families in a different way and much better. And the research in this area is only beginning. And I think this is something for the next decade and certainly beyond. And that's called survivorship. So that will be a very important theme in the future. Yeah.
Then you had the CPR competition. Say a few words about that. That was very interesting. With a lot of national teams, some national teams even had 2 teams, and it was good to see also that there was a team from Ukraine.
Hashtag is we are back, because this is the first Congress after COVID with a real CPR competition. So we return this year to organize the CPR competition. We are very happy to have been able to return completely to normality. And the CPR competition is a beautiful example event to enhance teamwork, non-technical skill, and the competition and the gamification of the session at the flavor of challenge that make very fascinating the process.
With the number of teams, I assume that there was no problems getting hold of teams. There was a lot of interest to join.
Yeah, we also have more than one team for nation, if I remember well.
Yeah, there were 2 countries which came up with 2 teams. Yeah,
absolutely.
So this is something that you foresee will continue and grow.
It's the best chance to, in a nice way, compete country by country. We compete Italians against Belgian, me and Koen, like tennis club.
So looking forward, next year, where will the conference be?
Greece, Athens, first week of November. The old, fascinating part of the Europe. We will be very happy to be there with a lot of new things. The conference committee are working on new format again. We try to rebuild and reestablish something new again, because this is the Congress. This will be the Congress before the guidelines. So it's like a warm-up with science, education, and obviously we can also have some taste of follow-up from Euro 2024 next year in Germany. So news from science, news from education research, preparing the base for the next 2025 guidelines and expand, as we mentioned before, interest on survivors.
When you say an update, you are thinking of the UEFA project.
Yeah, because the UEFA project will be actively in Germany during Euro 2024 from May all summer. So probably we'll show with the guys from UEFA some preliminary follow-up in terms of awareness and impact on that campaign.
You are listening to a special event episode of the 1 Million Lives podcast by Laerdal.
That was a recording of an interview I did the last day of the ERC conference in Barcelona with Professor Kern Monsieur and Dr. Federico Semeraro, the chair-elect, who will take over in a year's time as the chairman of the ERC organization. It was fitting that we wrapped up the interview with a mention of the groundbreaking project between the Union of European Football Associations, more commonly known as UEFA, and the ERC, as this smoothly shifts the focus to our final guest, Dr. Zoran Baciarevic, who currently serves as the medical officer for UEFA. Dr. Zoran was previously a well-known and respected pediatric surgeon in Zagreb, in Croatia, a profession not typically associated with football, especially at the European level. So to learn more about our guest, I began by asking him about his background and his way into top-level football.
It's funny how I would say life has peculiar ways. Let's put it this way: the moment I joined Children's Hospital Zagreb back in '92, at that very moment, pediatric surgeons from this hospital were taking care about the. You have to know at that moment sports medicine did not exist in Croatia as a specialty. Usually it was surgeons or orthopedic surgeons who were doing that. There were even some dentists, radiologists, and so on, so on. Situation has not changed much since then, but we have something called professional medicine and sports medicine, but this really does not cover the people who are working on field. Anyway, at the moment I joined Children's Hospital. Doctors, pediatric surgeons were actually taking care of famous basketball team of Barcelona, famous dream team of Croatia that won silver in Atlanta 92, I think, or who was playing the first initial and the only true US dream team in 92 in Barcelona. The doctor of the national team of football team of Croatia, doctor of Dinamo Zagreb, doctor of handball team, even a Croatian national theater, and even a grass hockey team. So as you can see, traditional sports medicine, that hospital is very established and wide. And then my chief offered me, one of my chief's teachers, mentors, Dr. Mladen Čepulić, offered me to join preparation winter camp with the Croatian national under 16, under 18 football teams. I joined, and the rest is a history. I climbed the ladder slowly over the years.
How did this idea for this cooperation between UEFA and the ERC start?
Most famous case of Ericsson happened in front of all of the camera, in front of almost 3 billion people watching on TV. And when he was successfully resuscitated, he was resuscitated by the great medical team that was there with the help of great equipment that was there. But it was not there by chance. It was put there by UEFA minimum medical requirements, which are in place for more than 20 years, which means set of requirements, including people, trained people, and medical equipment and medications that must be present at each and every match. When I say each and every match, I think I'm speaking about 3,500 matches every year. Not only the finals of the Euro, but of the small under 17 match somewhere in Lapland. There should be certain set of medical requirements. And then we realized that we are doing a good job at UEFA, but we are doing a good job for a very small and specific group of people. And these are players, referees, and people around the pitch. But, incidence of sudden cardiac arrest in athletes in football is somewhere between 1 in 50,000 to 1 in 200,000 players, professional players every year. I say so because the exact figure is not known. I think it's around 1 to 100,000 in reality, but we don't know. We are trying to do it through our register. Nevertheless, it's quite rare. Unfortunately, all these cases hit the front pages, and if they happen on Euro, of course, they are being viewed and they look very drastic. But then we realize that sudden cardiac arrest is the most common cause of death today. 1 in 1,000 people will suffer it. It happens every 45 seconds in Europe. So since we started this conversation 5, 6, 7, since we're trying to connect, more than 20 people died or have suffered sudden cardiac arrest. And 60% of cases is happening at home, usually in front of bystanders who are not trained. And then the idea came, I have to say, I was exercising this idea in my head for some time, and then Marko Noć, cardiologist from Slovenia, suggested this to us and to President of UEFA, Mr. Čeferin, and then idea started to roll. And then obviously European Resuscitation Council was most obvious partner, or I would say the only obvious partner, as a leading medical professional society for resuscitation in Europe. We are a European organization after all. We started contacting them as we were contacting them and as we were starting and set up the steering group with Kuhn, with Jan, with Federico Semeraro, Nicolaus Nicolaou, all these guys, Karsten Lott, Sander van Goor. I'm afraid to miss somebody there because there was a very nice group. Another thing happened in September 2022, and that is that the goalkeeper of Cadiz, Jeremias Ledesma, ran to the bench of Cadiz, picked up the AED, and ran back to the spectators and delivered this to stand, throw it to the stand, when one supporter was suffering sudden cardiac arrest. And actually that action, together with the team that started CPR, saved the life of this supporter. That showed us that we are on the right track. Then we included excellent communication team of UEFA. Then we have, I have to say, that needed some adjustments from both sides. So doctors on ERC needed to understand the attention span of the typical football supporter, and that we are not looking for typical BLS courses that last 6 hours, that we need to have something that lasts a few minutes. And it's actually what we need. Only a few minutes. It's just chest compressions and AED, nothing more. And that's the idea that, people are afraid of BLS because it's 6 hours. If we do something simple as goal course, and that's a result of the efforts of ERC, this goal course, Get Out and Save Lives, we basically, in 5 minutes, you can remind somebody what, or even teach somebody what they need to do. And that's the whole idea. And that's how we started. Our excellent communication team developed the communication strategy that is going to be more and more public in next few months, I would say.
When will it really take off? When will it start? When will people start to see something of this program?
So we already started this just a few days ago here in Barcelona. We kind of kicked off the campaign. We are finishing our interactive course. So there are a couple of, I would say, lines of communication which are going to be dedicated to certain age groups. I have learned through this that communication is really science today. So first of all, there will be a TV commercial that is something that will be very visible. and that will be during Euro 2024 and will remain on TV screens during season 24-25 and Women's Euro 25 in Switzerland. That's one. This TV commercial will involve one famous coach, Didier Deschamps, and one famous pundit, TV pundit, Rio Ferdinand, and a lot of other people around about sudden cardiac arrest happening in the stands to one of the spectators and motivate people to join the interactive course. That's the second pillar of our communication. There is a dedicated web page for the landing page where actually people, when they click on Get Trained and Save Lives, which is logo and slogan of this campaign, will end up at this page. And there they can do like a 6 minute course with some other famous guys like Ruud Gullit, like Lautaro Martinez. There are other names which I'm not going to reveal now because they are being filmed as we speak. These guys will lead a person together with the certified ERC trainer through the steps of simple steps of saving life. With the idea that at the end they press a little click and then they go to ERC landing page where they can apply for one of the proper live courses, in-person courses. And finally, third pillar of communication, not the third, there are more, but I would say third most important is social media. So same players from the interactive course, same coaches that I mentioned, and then also some more players will interact on the social media from the TikTok to Instagram and even Facebook. But I just learned that this is for the older generation like myself, which I took a little bit like of an insult. So I'm now applying for Insta, X, Twitter, even a TikTok just to have a feeling of being younger. But the whole idea there, we will have a player and coaches bots, which I'm sure you know what is that. But for those who don't know, the people will be engaged in the communication with the player who will guide them on the Instagram. Like, come on, you can do it. And if you're doing good, let me introduce you to my trainer. Okay, let's do this short CPR course. And then when people are doing good, they will say, well done. When they're not doing good, they'll tell them, come on, you can do it better. And some, very engaging for young public.
The slogan "Get Trained, Save Lives," I guess that has a double meaning as well, because it's talk about training, get trained on CPR, but also the benefit of being fit.
Exactly. But we actually took, people when think about football are always talking about any activation through football goes through the famous players. But we changed our strategy a little bit. We involved the best coaches in the world. And then the whole idea is, and as the campaign will gonna go wider, we will make it possible for national associations to film their own national team coach for the local public. And the idea is get trained by the best trainers. That's where it came from. Finally, people are very often, unfortunately, it takes very little to save life. Chest compressions and calling for help. Or first calling for help, then first recognizing what is happening. But it's easy. But then calling for help, then chest compressions, and finally a automated external defibrillator. And this chain of survival, it's easy. Anybody can do it, really anybody. But people too often don't do it because they don't dare. We want to show them by this campaign, it's so easy. We have trained 2,700 people up until now in person. Most of them players from age of 16 to the 18 players, but also referees, delegates, all the finalists of Nations League final in Netherlands, so all 4 teams. And we will train all the teams for under 21 Euro, and we will train all 24 teams for Euro. But the point is, it's not them who we want to train. It's just them showing other people. It's so easy. They can do it. Everybody can do it. And by that, we will save lives.
And that wraps up this special event edition of the 1 Million Lives podcast, reporting from the 2023 ERC conference in Barcelona, Spain. I trust you have found this episode enjoyable and, more importantly, that it has inspired you to consider participating in the next ERC conference scheduled for November 2024 in Athens, in Greece.
You have been listening to a 1 Million Lives podcast by Laerdal. You can find all our podcasts and access any bonus material on laerdal.com/podcast. The views, information, or opinions expressed are those of the guests and do not necessarily represent those of the institution they are affiliated with or of Laerdal Medical. If you have any suggestions for guests or topics we should cover, please send us a message on laerdal.com/podcast. We look forward to hearing from you.
Until the next time, goodbye from the Laerdal podcast team.